Hi, it's Kevin with another video. Well, what a surprise. So, one of my students sent me an essay a couple of days back, and yeah, some problems with grammar and vocabulary, but the main thing that I wanted to point out, which we'll take a look at in a second, is your old favourites again: task response and cohesion and coherence. The number one reason why most students can't get above 6 or 6.5 in writing. I've said this 1,000 million billion trillion times, and I'll probably say it another 1,000 billion million trillion times. Answer the question as clearly and directly as possible. Your paragraphs must have one main idea and they must have a logical progression. So, you'll see in a second. So, we're going to take a look at the student essay first. Then I wrote an example of the same question, showing how the structure works, just to give you an idea. Okay, so let's go take a look. Okay, so what I want to talk about now, someone sent me an essay last week, and we're going to take a look at it. I'm going to give you an analysis and show how it can be improved. Now, there were some grammar and vocab errors I had to correct. I've highlighted the changes, so you can see. However, what we're going to be talking about now is mainly cohesion and coherence. This is something that I see every single day, and that's not an exaggeration. People send me essays all the time, even if their grammar and vocab are good. As I say, this wasn't too bad. I've made some corrections, which you can see. However, the number one thing to getting a good score, a high score, is to be as clear and direct as possible. A clarity, simplicity is key. So, you have to be clear and directly answer the question. Develop it as fully as possible. We need one main idea, a paragraph, which is developed. We don't need a list, and everything has to have a logical organization. So, we'll take a look, and I'll show you an example later. I don't have an example for this particular question, but I do have lots of examples which will serve to illustrate our point. So, first things first then. How do we get such a logical, clear, direct essay? Well, we use a structure such as this. I recommend it. You can use other structures if you wish. You'll see other teachers online have different structures line by line, but this works perfectly well, as all my students will attest. So, paragraph 1, introduction. Sentence 1, simply paraphrase the question, restate the topic. Sentence 2, what's the essay about? Give your opinion. This essay we're going to take a look at now is an opinion essay. So your opinion must be clear right from the start. Then I always recommend giving an outline. This essay will argue main idea 1 and also main idea 2. What the examiners really do not like are memorized sentences such as, the following paragraphs will illustrate my opinion, or in this essay I will give reasons for my opinion. They don't like it. If you use those memorized answers, you will get a penalty, so don't do it. So then, paragraph 1, one main idea, that's it. Explain that main idea. Give an example for that main idea. If you need to put a a reinforcement if you want to do a more balanced essay and have a concession, even though, despite the fact that some people think this, you can do if you wish, or you can simply reinforce or restate the main idea. Therefore, as we can see, this is blah 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 blah. Doesn't matter, as long as you have that logical progression, development of your main idea. If you can do that, you will be fine. The same for body paragraph 2, your second idea, and conclusion, summary, restate the question, the topic, your opinion, and your main ideas. You can possibly make a recommendation, a suggestion, depending on the question, how it's worded. Okay, so the best way for governments to solve the problem of traffic congestion is to provide free public transport 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So, all it's asking is, do you agree or not that the best way for governments to solve traffic congestion is 100% free public transport? Do you agree with that or not? Okay, so sentence 1. Recent years have witnessed the phenomenon of traffic jams, which has universally taken place in many parts of the world. Okay, well, I know some people like to write this kind of general background sentence, but you don't need it. It doesn't add anything. It doesn't even say anything about that. It simply says the best way for the state to solve traffic congestion, provide free public transport, yes or no. So I wouldn't use these. These very general sentences, they don't really say anything and add anything. I would simply do as the criteria says, get straight to the point, directly answer the question. That's it. That's what I always advise. Okay. People have divergent views on the solution. Well, again, it doesn't say that anywhere. It doesn't say anything about opposite views. It's asking you for your view. Is the best way for government to solve the problem of traffic congestion and free public transport, blah, blah, blah? That's what it's asking, nothing else. Okay, from my perspective, I believe that the negative effects caused, I presume you mean caused by providing free public transport, would overtake its benefits. So we kind of have an opinion here, but you need to spell things out. Caused by providing free public transport. Okay. Excessive resources. Where does it say anything about excessive? It doesn't say that. It says, should the state provide free public transport in order to solve traffic congestion? So people have divergent views. I believe, again, it's not as clear as it could be. So I take it that you think you disagree that it's not good to provide free public transport. Okay. Excessive resources could not only alleviate serious road conditions. So here that you're saying that it can, but could also lead to a set of social problems. So does that mean that you think it's good or bad? I'm not really sure. Free public service will attract a large number of passengers. Well, public service attracts passengers in any case. Why would there be even more? Which means it would be necessary for the local authorities to pay more for workforce, regular maintenance, or even expansion of the transport system. Well, just because it's free doesn't automatically mean to say that it would be massively expanded. People use public transport because they have to do so. They go to work, they go to school. They would still go if it were free or not. I don't believe there's large numbers of people who refuse to use public transport because they cannot afford it. However, this solution will place a considerably economically heavy burden on the government. Well, yes, but the question is not asking that. You know, it's not really asking. It says, do you agree or not that the best way to solve traffic congestion, free public transport? So you're talking about excessive resources, but you know, that's not free public transport. So free public service, free public transport, the solution. Okay. On top of this, for free fare public transport vehicles, now this idea here, this second idea, no idea what this means. There's no logic. On top of this, the free fare public transport vehicles is immediately relevant to crime, or as the author said, to crime wave. How would not charging people for public transport cause a wave of crime? How would it do that? Exactly. This is because a transport system without charge aimed at everyone provides offenders with an opportunity to commit crimes. What? So criminals go by public transport to commit crimes? They commit crimes on public transport? Do you mean that criminals don't commit crimes on public transport now because they can't afford to travel on public transport? The logic of this paragraph is not good. Cohesion, coherence for this would not be good. And also, we don't have a specific example. We do not have one. It's very general, general. The logic's not so good, and we don't have an example. Now, on the other hand, but there's not an other hand. It doesn't ask you to talk about it. It's not a discussion. It says, do you agree or disagree that? And, you know, when you are writing, you have to keep coming back to the question. Make sure that you include and cover exactly what's in that prompt. Right? You've got to keep coming back. So, again, do you agree or not that the best way, so there may be other ways, but is this the best way, yes or no? So, on the other hand, there's no doubt that the government should assume the responsibility of addressing traffic jams. Okay, well, local people should also take prompt action to lessen traffic on roads. Okay, but again, you know, free public transport 24/7. That's what you've got to keep coming back to. That's what it's asking you. London case in point, levying taxes on drivers of private cars, doesn't say anything about this. You know, now as again, because I'm not sure, I believe you disagree, but you know, the cohesion, the general coherence and cohesion of this essay is not good. The reader is not really sure or clear exactly what your opinion is or what the logic is, where it's going. Now you're talking about local people should take prompt action on drivers of private cars. Well, what's that got to do with, again, I'm going to keep coming back to this, best way for governments, free public transport. Now you're talking about putting taxes on drivers of private cars. Okay, furthermore, unreasonable distribution of public resources would result in an increase in civil reliance on the local government, which means what exactly? So how would that increase civic reliance? What does that mean? For example, an increasing number of young people are unemployed have less motivation to find jobs. Again, how exactly? What are you talking about? That's not very clear. Well, it's not clear at all. Okay. In conclusion, the positive influence brought by this practice could not justify its consequences. In other words, you disagree. Well, why not simply say so? The government should promote public awareness of preventing traffic congestion rather than unrestrainedly allocating free resources to its citizens. So there's some main ideas there, there's some components, but your opinion is not very clear. You're including things that are not in the topic or rubric. You can talk about those things in your body paragraphs, but the introduction, all that you need to do is just say, this is the topic, this is what I think, I'm going to talk about this, and that's it. We've got 2 ideas, we only need 1, and there's no specific example in paragraph 2. Paragraph 3, you are looking at the opposite side, except there's not an opposite side because it's not a discussion. And you're talking about private cars and local people, then you're talking about civic reliance. I'm not sure what that means or how the unemployed would have less motivation to find jobs somehow. I'm not really sure. So you need to work on task response and cohesion and coherence. We need that logical progression of ideas, one main idea with reasons and examples. Everything must be clear, opinion all the way through, and that's it. That's basically what you need to do. Okay? So here's the example essay I promised. I just wrote it a couple of minutes ago. I think it will serve to illustrate what I was talking about. So the question's the same, of course. So, sentence 1, you paraphrase the question. It has been suggested that the most effective way for the state to resolve the traffic congestion problem is by providing public transportation free of charge 24/7. Clear opinion. I do not believe this will solve the problem. So, we have a clear opinion. But why? Well, as drivers would still be reluctant to give up their cars as they provide comfort and personal space which they are willing to pay for. And that's what we'll be talking about here in paragraph 2. Now, because I say I disagree that the best way, I'm going to offer an alternative. So, a better choice. So I say, well, so the question asks, is it the best way to provide free public transport? I say, no, that will not work. The best way is to ban cars from the city centre. And that's what we'll talk about there. So, this is what I meant when I said to clearly and directly answer the question. Sentence 1, simply restate the topic. In paraphrase, change the word order, change some keywords and synonym. Clear opinion. I don't believe that this will solve the problem. In other words, I disagree, because drivers will still drive because cars are comfortable. However, a better choice would be to ban cars altogether. So, main idea. The argument that free cost travel on public systems would somehow stop congestion, not a realistic one. Why? For many people, driving a car, it's a choice. It isn't about cost. People drive because they like their own personal space. They like to listen to the music and drive around wherever that you might not be able to do on public transport. So, for example, and as you will see, I have 2 clear examples. As I mentioned before, your essay needed some. So, if we consider the cost of buying and maintaining a car, plus the taxes, blah, blah, blah. So, for example, driving is more expensive than public transport. So, if the argument is that people drive cars because public transport is expensive, well, that's not true, because if you have to buy a car, maintain a car, then you've got to pay tax on it, insurance. So that argument, it doesn't work. So that's the reason 1 why I disagree. So what I'm saying now is, well, because I disagree that that is the best way, I'm going to give you a better way. So a more realistic solution would be for the government to force drivers out of their cars. How? High taxes, petrol prices, or by banning cars from driving in city centres. A good example, and this is a true example, I used to live in Cambridge, what they do there, they have these metal barriers that sink into the ground only if you are a bus or taxi, because they have some kind of a transponder on board. So if you're a private car and you try and drive down certain streets, a barrier will rise under your car and stop you. So that's a real example. So in conclusion, restate your opinion again. In my view, the government's providing free transport at all hours will have no effect on congestion. A better way would be to ban cars from town and city centres all together, thus leaving the streets congestion-free. 288 words. So, see if I can get this all onto the screen so you can pause it and you can read it all. So, that's a general idea. That's it. So, this is what I was talking about when I was talking about the cohesion and coherence. You know, so, and the task response. Also, as I said, you have to clearly, directly answer the question. And then you have to have a logic, one main idea, a paragraph, and specific examples. So, I hope you found that useful. I'll see you later. Bye for now.